Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Ugandans, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, the Deputy Defense Spokesperson and actually the Deputy Spokesperson for the Uganda People's Defense Forces. I was hosted on Alternative Dig Talk. I encourage all Ugandans that this is the way to go. Always watch, participate, give your views and ask questions on Alternative Dig Talk. Dig Talk, the way to go.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Yes, 5 minutes past 7 a.m. A very good morning and a warm welcome to this edition of the Mighty Drive Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, and on behalf of the Alternative Dig Talk, on behalf of the Mighty Drive Show, and on behalf of everybody right here at the Dig Talk House, allow me to say welcome aboard. It is going to be a very, very interesting thriller. From 7 right now up to 9 a.m. We're going to be talking about the state of insecurity, the state of human rights in the country, and of course we're going to be talking to a human rights lawyer, a human rights activist and a lawyer and a journalist. His name is Mr. Aboneka Karamagi. He'll be talking to us soon. And we also have Mr. Michael Aboneka. Mr. Michael Aboneka is also a lawyer and a human rights activist in this particular country. So just sit back, relax, because we're going to have a discussion that is going to be unearthing a lot of things that you may or may not have actually known about. We want to tell you exactly all the details and maybe give you the right information so that you are an informed citizenry at the end of the day. Thank you so much to everybody who wakes up at 7 a.m. every Monday to Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. My God, you guys have shown us a lot of love. And of course, we shall continue to serve you in real time and give you right information, credible news, and of course, factual, authentic facts for you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, allow me I delve into some of the stories that are going around today. As I promised you yesterday, tugenda kuwa tunyonyola the AFCON. What is happening in the African Cup of Nations right there in Cameroon? It is an exciting tournament where you get to see the creme de la creme on the African continent do what they do best, and that is to play football. These boys have actually shown a lot of a lot of vigor, a lot of energy as they are playing this sport. We are enjoying it right here from Kampala, Uganda, because as I told you, Uganda is not there. Uganda is not fortunate enough to just go in the AFCON 3 times in a row. Since 1978 up to now, we still have people who are just Uganda goes there once, twice, then we skip some years, then we go back again. And maybe to just give you a brief background of what is happening all over the country, we have a lot of things. We have the UPDF saying they're going to be investigating the gentleman from the UPDF who actually shot a traffic officer. That was on, I think that was Sunday morning. Yes, on the dawn of Sunday. That is what happened. UPDF is officially investigating. And the year is 2022. And when I talk about 2022 and I mention the country Kenya, we're talking about elections. The roadmap to the 9th of August 2022, where we shall see Kenya deciding on who is going to be leading them. William Ruto is in that race, and of course Baba Raila Odinga is also representing the ODM in that particular race. It's going to be a clash of the titans right there in Nairobi. We have news coming in. I think there were bullets and tear gas that was shattered, or that was sprayed among some supporters of William Ruto, that is at Jacaranda grounds in Kenya. But yes, Nelson Ruto is saying that they are using the security to maybe mistreat him and maybe not allow him to look for the election, for the votes, as he wants to become president of this particular state. But of course, the security forces have said they are not to blame, because some of the people or the subjects of William Ruto were actually a bit, rogue. They were not respectful, and it is in that regard that they had to fire some bullets and, a bit of tear gas right there in the supporters of William Ruto. William Ruto represents a very big, magnitude of people in Nairobi, in Kenya, because many of them see him as a ray of hope. William Ruto is someone who has actually come from hustling, and he's now someone who's talking to the big boys. That is what people like to assert in this country. So the road to the elections is still going on, still interesting. I think I'll bring you Kenya tomorrow. We shall be talking about what is happening right there. And as we're speaking right now, over 30 governors have endorsed ODM. You guys, Kenya is divided into states, and these states are led by governors. And when a governor endorses you, that means the people of that particular region or the people of that particular state are endorsing your leadership as well. So we have 30 governors endorsing Mzee Raila Odinga. Now, Raila Odinga is a project of Uhuru Kenyatta, or a project that wants to see William Ruto, who is the deputy president of Kenya right now, out of office. They want Raila Odinga to take power. So ladies and gentlemen, we shall see what is happening in that part of the African region. But just for you to know, just for clarity, it is a whole lot fun in the Kenyan elections. I will be telling you more about that tomorrow in the Mighty Drive Global News Updates. We shall just maybe talk about Kenya and their election. It's always a very peculiar country when it comes to elections. We've seen them actually, beat odds. They have repeated elections. Their court has, up to now, refused the Building Bridges initiative, BBI initiative, that has been orchestrated by Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. So, whether Uhuru Kenyatta made his last appeal to the Supreme Court of Kenya to make sure that they listen to his Building Bridges initiative, that he aims at, re-strategizing Kenya and taking the resources to the last person. But some people are saying this is just a road of Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta to come back as the Prime Minister of Kenya after him being the president for 2 terms. And remember, the Constitution of Kenya mandates that Uhuru Kenyatta, or any leader who has been in power for 2 terms, that is enough for them. They don't have to even go above 2 terms. But Uhuru Kenyatta seems like he is not yet there. And we shall see what will be happening. The hearing of the Building Bridges initiative last hearing will be it started yesterday. That was Tuesday. No, it's starting today. Today is Tuesday. Then it's going to run to Wednesday, and the decision will be made on Thursday to see if Building Bridges initiative still stands a chance in Kenyan politics. Now let's go back. Let's run to the African Cup of Nations. The African Cup of Nations is going down right there in Cameroon. Let's start with Group A. Group A has the hosts Cameroon, who are playing exciting football. Burkina Faso, Cape Verde Islands, and Ethiopia. That is already done and dusted, because we had yesterday the last game in this particular group stage, and we had Ethiopia, Cape Verde taking on Ethiopia, Cape Verde taking on Cameroon, which was very, very interesting, guys. We saw Cameroon, really, they have been playing good football. They have been scoring goals. Remember, they came from a goal down while they're playing Burkina Faso to come and win 2-1. Very good football there. But you see that Burkina Faso is number 2. Burkina Faso was able to claim themselves a win against Ethiopia. They scored 1-0. And yes, so as we're speaking right now, Cameroon has a maximum points of 7 points, and Burkina Faso has 4 points. Cape Verde Islands has 4 points as well, and then Ethiopia has only 1 point. Yesterday, Ethiopia was able to also get themselves a point after they drew with Burkina Faso in that particular game. So right now we can see, I think Burkina Faso will go because Burkina Faso has more goals than Cape Verde, but Cameroon is automatically there. They will be heading this particular group stage. Then Burkina Faso is second, but remember, they will be taking the third loser, or the best losers. That means to make 16 teams, they have to take 4 best losers. That means they will be picking maybe the best 4 teams, the best third teams, the best 4 third teams in the 6 different group stages. Oba nkola sense manyi nchibagenda kuanga batwala oyo wokusatu byateye kutaba best loser oba watero chita mu lulimi luno olw'omupiira so bagenda kuba batwala akute ekifo ekyokusatu naye nga ate afunye points bagenda londa mu abantu bana abakutte ebyokusatu naye nga ate bafunye points ennungi nga omujuka Portugal weyekulula mu Euros eza 2016 nesobola okuwanga ewangula ekikopo ngevudde just mu bino byona agamba best loser something like that. So in group B mulimu eggwanga erya Senegal, mulimu eggwanga erya Guinea, mulimu eggwanga erya Malawi, mulimu neggwanga erya Zimbabwe. Now Senegal is in the lead of this particular, group. Baina points nya. Na yate benkana no wokubiri Guinea. Guinea na yaina points nya. Jukira basajja bana aba Guinea bagenda ne bakalubira mu timu ene ya Senegal ne bamujjaka akabonero ne gugwa yali 0-0. Yes, it was actually 0-0. Then Malawi naye yagenda ne yefunziriza Zimbabwe na mkuba mpira gwali mulamba. Okujja kwa ate Senegal naye nafuna point ku timu ene ya Malawi. Mpira ogenda okubanga gugalawo tugenda kubanga tulaba emipira ejenjawulo wano kangu kusome tugenda mu group B tugenda kubanga tulaba Malawi ngezanya timu ene ya Senegal, then Zimbabwe ngezanya timu ene ya Guinea Bissau. Olunaku lugenda kubeera lwaleero ku ssaawa emu yennyini ogenda kubanga olaba omupiira jikijuka gizanyira at the same time okubanga ba avoidinga kye bayita syndicate mu mupiira. So Malawi egenda kuzanya Senegal, then Zimbabwe egenda kubangezanya Guinea ku ssaawa ejja kubeera emu eyakawungezi olunaku olwaleero. Then tugendeko mu group endala wano group C. Group C erimu eggwanga erya Morocco, erimu eggwanga erya Gabon, erimu eggwanga erya Ghana. Bana Ghana ali mu kyakusatu. Mbajjukizaako Ghana, the cream de la cream on the African continent, bali mu kifo kyakusatu. Then Comoros eri mu kifo ekisembayo terina point ya demu. Ghana erina point emu yokka. Jjukira abasajja ba Gabon bajja ne bagatta Ghana mu ddakiika eyo eyali esembayo ndoza mujjuka in the 94th minute. Yes, AFCON ono atunyumidde. AFCON ono temuli timu gy'ogamba mbuno egenda kuba nti eri y'amaanyi oba ekuba oba ki. So tugenda kulaba omupiira ogusembayo Ghana agenda kubazanya Comoros. Ghana alina okuwangula guno omupiira bwaba yagala kubanga ava mu kibinja. Ghana alina okuwangula timu ene ya Comoros. Naye yasobola okubanga agiwangula because Comoros yadde teraze mutindo mulungi mu AFCON. Jukira bakoze debut yabwe gwe mulundi gwabwe ogusookedde ddala okubanga bajja mu continent obanga bajja ku African Cup of Nations. So Gabon yegenda kubanga ezanya timu ene ya Morocco. Sawa zigenda kubeera sawa 4 ez'akawungezi. So temusubwa AFCON temutulekere emipiira bannange. Waliwo TV eyefudde ey'amaanyi mu kugiraga TV gye bayita UBC. Kati buli wogiraba nabo bagamba bannange UBC we are the best since we actually got ourselves the AFCON. So thank you so much Uganda Broadcasting Corporation okubanga mututuusaako emipiira ku bwerere at the comfort of our home. Then group D erimu timu ya Nigeria. Abasajja bano basambye emipiira gubadde mulungi nnyo. Kelechi Iheanacho abadde yefudde ekirala kuva wali mu mutindo gweyajje ku Leicester City yaguleetedde ddala wano ku ggwanga erya Nigeria. Then Egypt weri eri mu kyakubiri, Guinea Bissau eri mu kyakusatu, then Sudan yakyasembyeyo mu group D. Nigeria ono agenda kubanga azanya naye anytime soon, agenda kubanga azanya Guinea Bissau olunaku lugenda kubeera lwanca. Then Cote d'Ivoire agenda kubanga ezanya timu ene ya Algeria. Bananga Algeria ba defending champion be basembye mu kibinja. Otwogeranga ba defending champion be basembye mu kibinja. Mbajjukizaako Algeria yasembye bannange. Algeria ayinza okutulekera omupiira, ayinza otulekera AFCON wetwogereranga ye ayongedde okubanga aswalira ddala. So tugenda kulaba omupiira gugenda kuba, in fact no, sorry, I think I mixed up a bit here. Timu eno eya Egypt egenda kubanga ezanya Sudan, then Guinea Bissau agenda kubanga azanya Nigeria, then Algeria agenda kubanga yazanya encha, ajja kubazanya timu ene ya Cote d'Ivoire oba Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast ye timu nesinga ba Stars, ogitunulye ina basajja ba Sebastian Haller, ekisajja kikulembedde abateebi mu Champions League ya Europe, then baina abasajja ngaba Pepe, baina abasajja ngaba Amad Diallo, baina abasajja ngaba Eric Bertrand Bailey, baina ebisajja bingi bana ebikubira ku Bulaayi okwo, era nabo omupiira gwabwe temugenda kubanga mubazala okujjako tulabye nga timu ez'enjawulo zize ne zikola ebitakoleka ku timu zizine ennene. Algeria naliko wano ng'omupiira ngubagamba basajja babakuba omupiira mulamba, basajja ba Equatorial Guinea babakubye omupiira mulamba. Algeria nga be defending champions bannange, Riyad Mahrez nga mwali mu kisaawe, nga buli omu mwali nga buli kimu bakigezezzaako, naye ng'ebisajja bino ebya Equatorial Guinea nga bikuba back. Banna omupiira gwanyumye. AFCON is really interesting. You should get some time after work, maybe just watch African football. You'll see how evolving our football is. And maybe in the group or in group F, group D, group E, abakulembedde be Cote d'Ivoire, aba Ivory Coast, then Equatorial Guinea ali mchaku inagambye Equatorial Guinea yaze na ku Algeria ompira mulamba. So that is also like that. Sierra Leone ina points bili. Sierra Leone msajja zenga yekulula afuna amaliri ge mpola teka twetogera nga Algeria ye asembe. Algeria ina point ye muyoka mu kibinja kino. Algeria kyasobola oyitawo, Sierra Leone kyasobola oyitawo, Equatorial Guinea kyasobola oyitawo, ne Cote d'Ivoire nyine akulembedde ekibinja kino kyasobola okubanga ayitawo. So all odds are still open for every team that is in the AFCON. And maybe lastly, group F, we have Mali, we have Gambia, we have Tunisia, and we have Mauritania. Now this was a group of controversy. Remember omusajja we yamali ompira mu dakika ye 85 bambe omusajja oyo referee anuma, omusajja badda akufuye bulungi emipiira gino. In fact, on the African continent is one person we've been celebrating. He's a very good ref. Okujjako ebintu byamusobako bagamba kisiaka yafunayo ka sunstroke. Oyo mbadde sijiwulirangako nti obeera mu kasana akangi osobola okufunayo ka stroke. Baana babeera ku site bu stroke obwo nga tebatera kubufuna, omupiira yeka yabufuna. I'm sorry about that. Naye omwami yamala omupiira mu dakika ye 85 ate n'amala n'agumala era mu dakika ye 89. Ngompira tegunawera dakika ye 90. Tejjukira in football anything can happen at any time. So liyo omujjako eddakiika yemu oba omukoze bubi nnyo. Somalia akulembedde ekibinja kino aina points 4, Gambia ali mu kyakubiri aina points 4, Tunisia ali mu kyakusatu aina points 3, ne Mauritania yasembyeyo aina point 0. So watu AFCON bwagenda okubanga agenda maaso empiira egigenda okusembayo, tujja kulaba Gambia ngezanya Tunisia olunaku lujja kuba I think lujja kubaira Lwakuna, then Mali ajja kubazanya Mauritania ku ssaawa 4 eza kawungezi. Abakulembeddemu abateebi mulimu omwami Vincent Abubakar okuva mu ggwanga erya Cameroon aina goals 5 ne assists 2, then maybe ne Enkambi owa timu ya Cameroon aina goals 2 awo bayita the Indomitable Lions Cameroon banainze mutipinze temugamba samutipinga mutipinze AFCON ono Cameroon mumutunulire nnyo ayinza okubanga yeddiza engule zino. This is not the first time they are winning this. They've won before and they are at home, and of course Samuel Eto'o is the new president of their federation. So all odds are for them. Cameroon might be the champions come this particular year. That will be on the 9th of February 2022. Thank you so much for everybody who has been watching the Mighty Drive updates. Allow me going in for a short commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking to Mr. Andrew Karamagi, who is a very, very well-known lawyer. He is a human rights activist. He was a journalist. He is a writer, and he's someone who has actually asserted what he can do in terms of fighting for democracy and human rights in this particular state. And he will also be joined by Mr. Michael Aboneka, who is also a lawyer and a human rights activist in that regard. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. It's time we take a short break, but when we come back, the Mighty Drive starts now.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Nze omubejjalu wedde Lilian mbaniriza maka gaffe amajja era nga wano tugenda okuba nga tukolera programu yaffe emanyiddwa nga The Voltage gaba masanyalaze gennyini era nga twogera ku bintu ebyenjawulo omwo nno mwe muli ebigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga, ensonga z'ebyobufuzi n'obukulembeze bw'eggwanga Uganda, twogera ku nsonga ez'abavubuka, eddembe ly'obuntu awamu n'ebyenkulaakulana. Togisubwa buli lunaku olwokutaano eba ssaawa emu ey'akawungeezi paka ssaawa 3 ez'ekiro.
The Diaspora Link buli lwakuna sawa 11 paka sawa emu ey'olweggulo ye program gye tukuleetedde wano ku Alternative Digital Uganda. Tugenda batutunulira embeera z'Abannayuganda baganda baffe bannyinaffe zibawangaaliramu mu mawanga ag'ebunaayira. Bangi banyigirizibwa, bangi bakosebwa, bangi bayisiddwamu amaaso. Naye tugenda batutunulira engeri gye tusobola okulongosaamu embeera zaabwe. Tugenda kuba tulaba abo abakwatibwako abateekeddwa okuba nga balongoosa embeera zino eno. Tosubwa buli lwakuna n'omuweerezaawo Nixon Segawa.
Hello everyone, my name is Abdulatif and I welcome you to the Hotline Show here at the Alternative Dig Talk as we discuss issues of national importance. Join us every Monday 7 to 9 p.m. and see who will be occupying these seats here with us. Keep it Dig Talk, real issues, real talk.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Yes, welcome back from that short commercial break. You are still watching the Mighty Drive Show and my name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. As I've promised, I have delivered, I have two gentlemen in studios. One is Mr. Aboneka Karamagi, who is a lawyer. He is a human rights activist. He was a journalist and once a journalist, always a journalist. He's already in studios with me. And we've been joined by Mr. Michael Aboneka, who is also a lawyer and a human rights activist as well. Today morning, we're going to be talking about the state of human rights in the country, but that will be later on in the show. But to start off, there is a new, maybe a bill that should be tabled in Parliament that has been drafted by Mr. Karamagi and his colleagues. It seeks to, reduce some of these, or to regulate the school fees, since we are in a season of school fees and uniforms going to as high as 500,000 and school fees going to as high as 1.5 million for just a toddler who is in nursery school or who is just a young person right there. So we ask ourselves, what should we do as a community, as a country? So feel free to just send in those comments. I'll be reading some of them on our Facebook page. It is at the Alternative Uganda. That is on Facebook and all other social media platforms. You can also call in live, but that will be in the second hour of the show. The numbers will be going on the screen, but you can call on MTN is 0789 017-145. Join the discussion. Let's have fun as we talk to these well-informed and eloquent gentlemen. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you for the generous introduction.
Oh, okay.
Happy to be here.
You deserve that introduction and more, sir.
Thank you.
Maybe to just start off with you, Mr. Karamagi. How is your life in a time when fuel prices are very high, school fees high? These days a jerrycan of water, 500 shillings, just to remind you. And everything is just going bizarre. That is, for lack of a better word. How are you doing, Mr. Karamagi?
I'm going to give an unpopular answer.
Okay.
And say I am privileged. And I say this with humility. The bulk of the things that impact the everyday Ugandan are not things that I get to interface with. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I feel the pinch of the fuel prices. I am guilty. I fueled my car to a full tank last night. 60 liters. But that notwithstanding,
yes, sir,
I am alive to the fact that success is not individual. You cannot only have what my friend and I usually refer to as the 1, 2, 3, 4 syndrome, which is popular. It's a popular problem in Uganda. One spouse, 2 children, a 3-bedroomed house, and a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Yes. And when people get those things,
they are settled. I've made it in life.
Like they've made it in life.
Yeah,
so despite the fact that I might not share in the plight, I am still worried about this situation because I know that if I have and others don't have, that's how we have young boys of even 12 years old hitting motorists with pavers on the northern bypass. So success is not individual. It has to be shared.
It has to be shared.
Yes.
You might be okay as Karamagi, but as a community, we are not okay. Thank you so much. Mr. Aboneka.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing in this time we are in right now?
You know, this time is unprecedented. I don't think I have ever witnessed in my lifetime where a liter of fuel is as high as 10,000 shillings.
Yes.
And leaders are telling you, no, it's okay. They're just administrative issues we are sorting out. And then the fuel tankers at the border, they are almost 75 kilometers.
In fact, it's now 8 as I woke up.
80 kilometers.
80 kilometers traffic.
And what are the boys saying? They're even playing football. They are saying that we cannot continue paying this $30. And so it's a policy issue. It's gambling at policy. Sometimes you, as a leader, because for them, I don't think they know the price of fuel in terms of purchasing. They don't know the price of Medicare. They know the price of an air ticket. We buy our own air ticket. They don't. They don't know how an ordinary Ugandan on Lumu Street is surviving. But they claim to be our leaders. That is the fundamental problem. Like Andrew states it, there can never be success of just a few individuals.
The isolation.
Inequality is the effect that everyone suffers. Now, I love this discussion, this definition of inequality in Uganda, and I've gotten it from, from now the current PS, who was my lecturer at some point, that we have a country that is sleepless. The rich are not sleeping because the poor are awake. Yes. You get what I mean? So, even the little thing you do, when I'm moving in town, some guy thinks that he's entitled to my side mirror. And he will come for it. Because he thinks that we have taken part of what he should have. When you see the fuel prices have gone up, the tax fares have now gone up. Okay?
Yes.
And the Minister of Works, it beats my understanding that the Minister of Works stands there and they spend, not to waste time, to say, we are pleading with you. please tax operators. Don't hike fees.
But
in Tanzania, here,
yes.
the public fares are regulated. And they're written on the buses. If you're going from Posta to Makumbusho, it's 500 shillings.
Yes.
If you're going to Milimani, it's 500 shillings. It is sorted. And the government knows how to repay back these guys in terms of tax incentives. You know, it's about a policy issue.
Okay.
We have 80 ministers. What are they doing? We have 60 ministers who died as MP. So those are 2 cars. So when a minister who is an MP is traveling to their constituency, which car do they drive? Is it the one that we paid for the 200 million? Or the one that's by the minister? Of course they go to the minister because it is a POM.
Yes.
So I want us to be careful, and Ugandans, and ask for accountability from those MPs of the 200 million. Let them show us the car. They also receive mileage allowance. But they get allowances as minister to travel. So we are wasting a lot of money in this thing called leadership, and it's not giving us anything. Lastly, why did it have to take the Prime Minister to go and stop the mandatory vaccination on the roadblocks? Where is the Minister of Health? It had to take the Prime Minister. Why?
It feels like there's a problem in our systematic approach of things. But maybe to just speak your mind, you've talked about some income inequalities. And just to inform you, we have people who go in restaurants and the lunch they eat is you know, approximately the salary that the waitress that is serving them gets. And maybe to just speak your mind on these fuel prices, because it's a very pertinent issue that is at hand. Constitutionally, we have to have fuel in our reservoirs. But as you're speaking, even the reservoirs are empty. Let me start with you, Mr. Aboneka. How did we reach to a point where we also don't even have reserve fuel? So right now, we are like that person who had that one matchstick, and after lighting it,
that was it.
That was it.
If we don't even have granaries for food, we don't have silos, how are we going to have fuel reserves? Like, this is a big joke. I don't know whether people wake up every morning and they're thinking about what to do. You ban cooperatives, you don't allow them to operate. We don't have silos. Let anyone stand up and show me any silo, or what I would call granaries or grand granaries in this country. That when we get hungry, we can at least go and line up and everyone gets, you know, a kilogram of maize. Instead, we shall become internally displaced persons, and then World Food Program will come and aid Uganda. But Uganda is an agriculture country. We are feeding Sudan and the rest.
So food basket of Africa.
Yes, it is a fundamental problem. The reason why Kenya is powering our maize and what have you, it's not because they don't like us. It's about quality. Who is controlling that? But also, you as a country need to be serious and say, you will only export 50%. The 50% stays here, and then we have silos. So even for fuel, I'm told they were sold. Yesterday, someone gave me information. The reservoirs. We need to know who received them, who sold them, just like they sold the direct operation, I think, for $2. Like, we're a country of jokes, and people get away with it. We can't be asking for 402 billion shillings to renovate the State House when schools are falling on pupils.
You can build 58 schools with 230 billion.
Yes.
Just to inform you, Mr. Aboneka. Let me bring in Mr. Andrew Karamagi. Sir, I want you to also maybe throw in a comment about what is happening in the country. Fuel prices going to as high as 12,000 shillings. And it's ironical that the 12,000 is in Hoima, the city that is...
The oil city.
The oil city in our particular country. Mr. Karamagi, how do we approach this?
There's something you alluded to as you were posing the question to Michael.
Yes, sir.
And it was about people who go to bars or restaurants and the amount of money they're paying for one meal is equivalent to the salary of
that waitress,
the waitress or waiter.
Actually, the manager.
For just one lunch.
Yes. That figure, while correct, that is not even a 10% or even 5% of the economy that we have. Later on in the show, I'll share figures from a Bank of Uganda study about how many Ugandans earn under 5 million shillings and how many earn monthly 1.5 million shillings. The figures are so dismal that we are speaking to ourselves in this studio. Many people might not relate to the possibility that you can spend 150,000 or even 50,000 on a meal.
Yeah.
It does not compute. To the bulk of Ugandans, I'm talking about anywhere above 90% of Ugandans.
Yes. The math wouldn't math.
Yes, so some of the things we're talking about here are from a position of privilege, at least from a Ugandan perspective. Because globally, $50 is what? $15, $20, under $20. That should be, for a country as wealthy as we are, resource wealthy as we are, that shouldn't be a problem. But here we are. Now, if you have a regime that has consistently demonstrated its interest in its own survival, please shelve the abiding fiction that they will care at any point about things like fuel prices, frontline social services like healthcare, education, and so on. Let's not look at this from the mere perspective of fuel. If the fuel shortages had a direct impact, say, on national security, and national security I mean regime survival, maybe we would see something in this regard. Which is why you hear budget requests about renewing the motorcade of State House
And even
and refurbishing State House itself.
Even the security.
Yes, and requests that have nothing to do with the people we see every day walking on the road to and fro, several kilometers from home to work.
Who, by the way, the voters who renewed the contract of these guys.
Yes, so for as long as we have regime survival, I would like listeners to really take this into mind. As long as we have regime survival as the core policy, as the core interest, we might as well forget about anything that represents the interests of Ugandans. What are you doing as a public official, as a public servant or civil servant, if fuel is none of your business? How can we have government officials whose work it is to come and tell us what the problem is or to complain?
Yet it's ironical they are supposed to be solving the problem.
Yes, the Prime Minister, as the word suggests, we do not even have to get into the Constitution to find out the power of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, as the word prime suggests, is the leader of government business. In many ways, is the head of government. Forget about the president. You cannot come to us and tell us that there's no fuel because fuel trucks are stuck at the border and we are sorting that out.
And you give that as a reason to the public.
So what am I supposed to do?
Is that my job?
As a taxpayer?
I've done my part.
I do not want to that we are warning motorists who are using the northern bypass that there are people using pavers and throwing them at people. Would that be the same reaction if this threat was on any of the leaders of the ruling junta?
Or if it was Chagulanyi who was having a challenge with the security?
So in addition to regime survival,
yes,
I want to share on a notion that I have coined over time. And it is about a regime that is present when you least need it, and a regime that is completely absent when you most need it. Young people celebrating the passing, the drive-by of Chagulanyi Sentamu or Besigye or Arrears Lukwago are not at any point asking for government to come in. But this is when we see the full force of the coercive machinery of the regime. Juxtapose that with a young lady. We lose 21 of them every day. By sunset today, 21 will be dead. And those are the ones we know, giving birth. Yeah. On the news yesterday, a lady died because of protracted labor.
Yeah, in Luwero.
Yes, in Luwero.
In Luwero, yes. This lady needed a government to be present, but it wasn't. So you have a government that is absent when you most need it and present when you least need it.
Mr. Karamagi, then that brings me to us as a citizenry. We are blaming the government for everything, but it feels like we have become so patient that we are the most patient people in the world. We are not doing anything about these things. Even the fuel crisis will go. Like everything has come and go. Like how Karamagi has spoken and has, maybe kept quiet. Like how Lukwago has fought. And we have always been the same citizenry, the same people, enjoying we're just there. I don't know.
Yes, the citizen, we must impress it upon citizens, as we continuously do with Michael and others, that the limits of the oppressor are determined by the oppressed. Should I say it again? The limits of the oppressor are determined by the oppressed. How far the person oppressing you will oppress you is determined by you who's being oppressed. Okay. Because we had a similar situation years ago in Kenya. I was there. Yes. Fuel rose by 50 shillings. 50 Kenyan shillings. That translates into about 1,500 shillings. Here we have a spike of more than more than half. Yes,
just 100% increment.
That evening, people in their WhatsApp groups across Nairobi texted and said, "We are not driving tomorrow morning. No one is driving their car. We don't care what you do, and then let us find you on the road. You will see what will happen to you." Indeed, the next morning there were no cars.
Everybody had parked.
Yes, and by noon, the price had been revised downward.
No.
The
Kenyans
have demonstrated it. The Burkinabe of Burkina Faso have demonstrated this. The South Africans have demonstrated it. So the Sudanese, as we speak, have demonstrated the same courage. The people of Mali,
Algeria.
As we speak, Algeria. We're talking about things that are happening in the now. And so Ugandans can do it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be NRM, FTC, NUP, DP. These are things that should be bare minimums, below which we have we have cut-off points. And we say, this issue unites all of us. I don't care what party.
And I think, Mr. Karamagi, we don't have that issue where Ugandans say, we are all united by this.
That's a leadership problem,
money
it's also a problem of consciousness. I think we need to work hard, and it's good that we have platforms like this where we come to build the civic consciousness of our fellow citizens. But we need to do more. The other indictment I would place would be on members of parliament. 529 of you cannot stand up to free Ugandans from the cartels that rule our petroleum and energy sector. Because part of the problem, by the way, is cartels. Let's not even say that the fuel crisis has happened in the last 2 weeks. No. The price of fuel in Uganda has always been high. Remember, it shot from 3,000, I'm talking about petrol, and somehow got to in the high 3,000s and settled there.
For a while.
And we've been accustomed to it.
Yes.
And nobody is coming in to rein in these cartels which are responsible, which are causing this situation that we are grappling with. Why do we have regulators?
Talk about cartels. Maybe to just throw more lights on those cartels. What do you mean by cartels?
A cartel can be defined as a group of companies or power holders who have control over prices of a given good, who collude. Sometimes in economics they're referred to as market leaders. So that if company X sets the price of something at this, they lead the entire market in terms of setting that price. Now, what we were told in A-level economics, elementary economics, is that you have an interaction between the forces of demand and supply. You remember those curves? And that there's a relationship. What cartels do is to subvert that relationship between demand and supply. They can hoard. That is one of the things they can do. Hoarding is
keeping something until
you create an artificial shortage of something so that you drive up the price.
Very illegal, by the way.
Yes. You can also do, quote unquote, market leadership, price leadership, and say, we're determining the price and setting it at this.
But Mr. Karamagi, you want to say we are in a liberal economy where people are setting their own prices?
A liberal economy should not and you find this a lot in public forums. A liberal economy is not a license.
Doesn't mean lack of total regulation.
Yes.
You get what I mean?
That's why you have things like fiscal policy. So you have things like monetary policy. Fiscal policy is set by Ministry of Finance, government. Monetary policy is set by the central bank or a relevant authority of a given country to control, to keep inflation at a moderate level, because when it's too low, it's a problem. When it's too high, it's a problem. So you keep inflation at a moderate level.
Yes, sir.
Fiscal policy is to determine government expenditure and how the priorities of a given economy are set. Those two tools alone, even if we do not go into other forms of intervention, is why you have such institutions even when you have a liberal economy. There are economies that are a lot more liberal than us. If you think of Southern Africa, some countries in North Africa, in Europe, where in spite the fact that you're running an open economy, free market economy, you still have certain public goods protected from the vagaries of the so-called free market. Because the market is imperfect, as we are told in economics. Markets are imperfect. So you need the central bank, you need finance ministry, you need regulators to step in and say, these are the price floors, these are the price ceilings. Yes. So you don't just liberalize everything and say every man for himself. If that's the case, then we don't need a government. Let us be allowed to, I provide my own security, I drill my own water, I provide my own electricity, and then we live,
Okay, 50 minutes past 7 a.m. You are still watching the Mighty Drive show. We have been talking about the impending fuel crisis. It's already here, by the way. It's a crisis that many Ugandans are feeling, that it is, a bit challenging to all of us. Some people have decided to park their cars, and some others who have the money can continue enjoying the luxury. But today we are talking about another pertinent issue, school fees on the rise. And these gentlemen here have something for us that will help maybe regulate the school fees prices. Because as I was telling you, a toddler of 3 years who's just going to baby class is now paying more than $1 million. And everybody wonders, how did you get to a point, Mr. Aboneka, where a toddler has to pay all that money? These days, omwavu anasoma.
Omwavu wakufa.
Why
have you done that? I love this country. We started with Tusimbu Day. Katimanyi wetu tuuse.
Tulikuwa sirike.
Kati now osirike.
Osirike. That's how we.
Tusimbu olemwa. Tusimbu Day. Uganda olemwa kati tusirike. Tetusirika. Kwanga owanga osimbu Day. Tambulira mugiye. Now let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
The concept, actually, if I'm to theme this discussion, we are talking about the presence and absence of government.
Feels like that.
When you need it most, it is not there. When it is not necessary and you don't need it, it is there. Okay? It is this country that we have the most expensive road in the world.
Yes.
Over $492 million US.
Oh,
but we have no single light post on that road. That's why, including Northern Bypass, it is a 49.6 kilometers. There is no single what? Light post. I have made good noise. I have done everything, and I think I've even written a letter about it. We raised 225 million shillings in 3 days in road toll. In my opinion, you only need at least 25 light poles. Even if you have to cost each at 10 million, that money is enough. Okay? To put light. The most expensive road in the world, where now it's going to become a future of SST, and kids are going to go there and start doing the tour. doesn't even have light. It is dangerously dark in the night. The second point, did you know that the police patrol cars, the ministry is saying they insist they should pay a road toll? But they are patrolling, they have found security. I've been on that road and it is safe to have them. But they're insisting that no, let the Unira cars, the other Unira cars are like these airport cars that go before the plane. There's no security about it. How can Unira and the Minister of Works start fighting with the police and saying you must pay? But this is government.
And police is doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes, and let me bring in the third issue here before I get to this. How is it possible that a government hospital can be in arrears of power and water, yet it's the same government that generates the power? It's the same government that generates water. Is it the cartel that I provide a vote for power and what have you for the hospital so that Umeme collects it on my behalf? Because why should government be paying fees to government? It's a government hospital. I think there is a year Toro Hospital was in arrears and it was disconnected for 6 months. People couldn't access theater. And then you ask yourself, who makes these policies? So the thing about school, education is first and foremost a right. Article 30, all persons have a right to education. Full stop. All what?
Persons.
All persons, not some, not if. All persons have a right. Now, objective 18 of this dear constitution of ours, this one, is to the effect that the state shall provide free, basic education.
I mean, something will tell you that's where UPE comes in.
Yes, I'm coming. Free, basic education.
Yes.
Now, do we have free education in Uganda? That's the question. Education is supposed to be free. When you ask other people to come in and help you, they are helping you advance your cause. In fact, government should be paying a token to these private entities to extend its mission. Why should and let me speak this because it is on record, why should a person going to St. Savio pay 5 million shillings? P2, why should a P1 child take 24 books, moreover pick fare, moreover don't write your name on it? And I was actually discussing with Andrew cartels that is it possible that these schools use this as a business? You go to pick fare and you tell them, I need a commission. I'm going to make sales for you. Some schools say, bring Oxford sets and not TOEFL.
They're specific.
Don't bring Hakorula. What is the difference? They all have campuses in there and dividers.
Bring Rotatrim, don't bring any
Bring
other.
double blue. And then they have a deal. And then others say, you must buy them at the school canteen. Some schools are selling a mask at 5,000 shillings. And you must not bring yours. You must buy theirs. And what pains me is that the parents who are complaining and calling us and sending us messages, they never say anything. What do they do in PTAs? People have left schools and children for border borders. A border guy is one who picks them. A border guy is one who picks them. A border guy is one who attends VD. For you, where are you? Omwana wani. Ononya sente naye. Ezo sente tezigenda kuyamba. Niwo bango ina meka. Time is going to come here when you, even if you have $1 million shillings, you can't buy the fuel. You get what I mean? Because it's not there.
Your cash is useless.
Your cash is useless. So let's deal with the policy issue. So education, there are 17 countries in Africa that provide free education. Uganda is like in the bottom there. In Botswana, you studied 10 years free. 10 years means what? You've done 7 years of primary and 3 of middle. Katawobo genzing up at least paka senior 3. So, and they are doing well, and actually even university now it is free.
Even Zimbabwe is free.
It's free. So what is it? Yet Uganda is a part of Africa. We even boast of we have money because we can build the world's most expensive road. So if we have money to build the world's expensive road, why can't we do education? So the other thing is, education is a right. Don't talk business. Everyone who has a 50 by 100 that take away Somero. 3 floors or 4. P1, P2, P3, P4. Now, a parent said something. Why are people paying library fees? Why did the ministry approve and give you a license if you have no library? Why did the ministry approve and give you a license for the entire primary education scheme? It has become a business. Mtu kama P3 ne baba tunda kusomera eddala mbugene mukole P4.
Yes.
Muba mukyali ne bagamba kati katubatunde balinganga muzanyi bazanyi ba mpira. Ne baba tunda eddala mugene mumalize P7.
Owe taxi.
Mr. Aboneka, I would love maybe for you to just pause right there. You'll be starting at that point in the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It's just 1 minute to the top of the hour. It's time we're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, we continue on that discussion, and maybe later on in the show, we will be talking about the state of human rights in the country. We have Mr. Kakwenza, who's still behind bars. And some people are saying he's not in the best of health. What is happening in the human rights, accord in this particular country? So let's go in for a short commercial break. Remember, the next hour, you'll be able to also call in live. The numbers will be rolling on your screen, and you'll be able to talk to Mr. Karamagi and Mr. Aboneka. Let's go in for a short commercial break. We shall be right back.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Ugandans, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, the Deputy Defense Spokesperson, and actually the Deputy Spokesperson for the Uganda People's Defense Forces. I was hosted on Alternative Dig Talk. I encourage all Ugandans that this is the way to go. Always watch, participate, give your views, and ask questions on Alternative Dig Talk. Dig Talk, the way to go.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. My name is Edgar. I am still with Mr. Karamagi and Mr. Aboneka. We are talking about what is happening in this country. Everything is going bizarre. We have school fees, hiking like nothing. We have everything being hiked. I told you these days there is no border of 1,000 shillings. Thank you for the comments. I have a couple of them coming through here. This is Mr. Turiaha, where he says, do people understand fiscal policies, let alone our leaders themselves? I don't know. Nacha Unerita says, and by the way, not all leaders understand such policies. Okay. Then we have Mr. Odur Anthony, who is watching the discussion. Yeah, I'll be reading most of them. I see Teresa Blessy. I see Doreen Nanjura, she's also watching. Thank you so much for watching the show. So it's your time to also call in live. So just call in live. The numbers will be rolling on your screen. MTN is 0789017145. Then Airtel is 0759231310. So call in live, talk to us, talk to Mr. Karamagi, talk to Mr. Aboneka. Just ask any question, or you can still continue dropping in these messages. I'll be reading them. Ask those questions, and we shall be answering them subsequently. Mr. Aboneka, you are still emphasizing your point.
Yes, especially on education. You know, people are talking about leaders, but we are overqualifying them. In my opinion, they are dealers. So you need to qualify and show us that you are no longer a dealer, you are a leader. Because why would you double deal as an MP and the same time as a minister? And by the way, I am also working on something on that. Okay? So I'm putting everyone on notice.
Okay.
You can't be a prime minister and an MP, so you come to the floor of parliament and you are presenting a government position that you want to acquire land compulsorily from your voters, and your voters have said no. So at what point are you going to say, having spoken as the prime minister, now I want to bring the views of my people, and they have said no? That is stupid. It is confusing.
And some relationships are even more incestuous. The person is a minister,
yes,
they're an MP, and they have shares in a private investment which their ministry regulates.
You guys, those are the things that were in Congo here after Kabila. I think during Kabila's reign, you would find Kabila's sister is one of the people of the ministers. Then she's also one of the owners of the bank, and the bank is the one that is, getting money from the treasury. And you'll find that the auntie is the one in the treasury issuing the money to the bank, and it's like a syndicate of some sort.
That's why I'm saying dealership, not leadership. Who is a true leader? And I say everything rises and falls on leadership. The fuel is going up because of lack of leadership. Everything. You can't say, we are sorting it. So tomorrow, what happens when we have epilepsy? What happens when we have a serious, epidemic? What shall we do? So let me get back the issue of fees quickly.
Before you get, let me just drop in a comment. I've talked about Kabila, and they were in power for 18 years.
Yes.
We have a system that has been in power for 35 years. 35 years in power. What does that mean? Okay, let's continue.
Longer than all of us in the studio
they double the other one.
You see, for me, I hate the always the 1986 stuff. I wasn't there. Don't tell me. Cut the slack. Don't tell me about 1986.
You shall not live in the past.
I wasn't there. Don't tell me that you couldn't drive a car in 19, because I was not there. My parents had not even started thinking about me.
Yes.
I was born in 1990 in Jinja Hospital. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And my mother still had to get money to go to the hospital in 1990 when I was born. So that's all I've known. The only thing that is a bit free is some sort of tarmac. I pay for medical. I pay everything in my life. Okay? We're about to, even oxygen we were paying during last COVID.
Yes.
Chichi chotasasulira muna Uganda one. Even a government hospital, let me even make it worse. Medical records, you are asked to come with your budget book or work green, where they write. So when it gets lost and there's a new nurse, who is going to know your medical history? That's where people die. The hospital doesn't even have a copy. And you're telling, and then you're telling me 1986.
There is no follow-up.
Not even follow-up. Who will know your medical history?
And this is 2022.
And this is 2022.
Why should my national ID be a mere piece of plastic that does not contain my information?
Exactly.
They have to know.
And even why does it expire? Okay. So let me continue. So the thing is, we need to be citizens that ask the why, the what. There are three kinds of citizens. There are those whom things happen. There are those who see things happen, and there are those who make things happen. That's why we went to court yesterday with Edgar Karamagi, saying, no, the minister must regulate fees. We are the citizens who make things happen. We get tired, we talk, but we take action. And that's what every Ugandan should be. You are a leader. And they're telling you, I know for a fact that some money that was meant for toilets of some public schools, this guy sat in a meeting and said, let us buy ourselves cars. How do you convert money meant for toilets to buy cars? This COVID-19, how did we buy double cabins instead of buying mobile testing and vaccination vehicles? And then the government is telling government that you have to pay tax on it. Deal.
Mr. Aboneka, maybe as you conclude, because I want to bring in Mr.
So let me conclude on education.
Yes.
So we went to court yesterday, and what we are seeking is an order of mandamus to force the Minister of Education and Sports under Section 57 of the Education Act to put in place regulations for fees, because that's what the law says. They have been issuing such law. How can government plead with the one being regulated? They're the ones who offer license to these guys. People are paying exorbitant fees. How come that a public university in Uganda is more, a public school is more expensive than a private? Can you afford Nabingo? The people around Nabingo, can they afford Nabingo? The people around Boutique in Namlesa, do you know the only way they participate in a boutique? By counting cars that go on the hill. It's supposed to be a community school to benefit the people around. You can't go to Nabingo. Nabisunsa was selling slots. Batunda. So, we can't leave education in the hands of business. It is not business. Leave the phones, leave the bars to the people of business, but not education. So, number two, we are saying that let the minister ban the so-called school requirements. Because in some schools, by the way, they even take rugs as a school requirement. A parent told me they had missed out a rug. They were fees.
You know they teach simula. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Aboneka. Just to throw in a comment here, Miss Doreen Yanjura, she has said brilliant brains. So that's a comment that she has just dropped here for you guys. Mr. Karamagi, one of the brilliant brains, as according to this lady.
She's a brilliant brain as well.
She's a brilliant brain.
So she identifies
with brilliancy. Wow. Okay. So, Mr. Karamagi, do you want this as a bill? Do you want MPs to go and table it in Parliament? How do you want to go about the regulation of school fees?
So there's two tracks. One is the track that Michael has talked about. We're seeking the minister to to perform her duty. We are not inventing this from the sky. It's within the law. It's the law saying you are supposed to regulate fees. So we're asking court to direct her to do her job.
By the way, not across from wherever you start studying.
Yes.
To nursery to university. Yeah.
The second, people like myself, like Nyanjura Doreen, like Michael, we are regularly accused of opposing and criticizing without alternatives. And we're saying, in addition to objecting to this situation of the reckless privatization of education, we are proposing a law in form of a draft bill about what education should look like in terms of access, quality, and affordability. And I agree with my friends and colleagues who even have a problem with affordability. Why should we subject education, something as important as education, to affordability? It should be accessible.
And quality.
Yeah, and quality, because it is a strategic investment.
Yes.
Now, this bill has 4 parts, and I can talk about them briefly. The heart of the bill is to ensure that we free education from the commoditization that has reduced it into a good that it is today. I am disturbed, and I hope that more Ugandans can get as disturbed as I am, by the idea that a school can advertise, can pay for an advert on television and say that, in that advert say that we got 80% first grades. I have a problem with that.
And actually,
very serious problem.
Father say, muleta abana bamwe tugenda kubakyusa bafune munana bafune buna.
Yes.
Like that's where they are going.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Why should we have schools in the same country that this school makes children, quote unquote, this school, abana baita. What are you saying about the other schools? And how can you be a regulator and you allow such a thing to happen? That there are schools which make others pass and there are those which cannot make them pass.
And they're regulated by the same
institution.
Yes. And you have this habit, top 50 schools of the year. That this is the top 50, these are the top 10, these are the what?
Top 5.
Which means if you're not part of the 50, go to also me.
How does that happen in the same country?
Yeah.
Education is not a divisible good. It must be enjoyed wholesomely. Whether I am in Lira, Bushenyi, or wherever in this country. Because anyway, the generation of our fathers who had come from nowhere rose to become professors, ambassadors, went to universities of global repute, and would not have become
who they are
had they not enjoyed an equitable system of education. Our education has been, 2 crimes have been committed against education.
Yes, sir.
1, privatization, which is what the bill seeks to cure. The second crime that has been committed against education is the removal of the subversive element of education. I want to say something controversial. Education must be subversive. And I can be quoted. What do I mean? Education should seek to ignite a fire, or should ignite a fire in the minds of learners. Perhaps we are looked at as problematic young people because we are the last group to study something called civics.
And political education.
And political education.
And we even studied something political critical theory.
Yes.
Some things like that.
Critical theory.
We are not
They're not
fortunate to
there.
find
These
those
things have been removed.
And it's been deliberate.
Yeah.
Why? Because education today is about passing exams. That's the heart of it.
And we should actually ban, the ministry actually talked about removing PLE and the UCE, so that people, they are what we call continuous progress assessment. That should be it.
Yes.
Then you will see actually these guys will close down. Because they're just in business, they don't teach people content, but some question banks. People are carrying books, past papers, cramming, what is a machine, why is a broom a machine? A broom is a machine because it helps the man's work by sweeping.
But they cannot explain to you the innovation behind a broom. So employers like you...
But Mr. Karamagi, one would say that is how our literature or our content our curricula has been designed.
That's the problem.
And you're looking mostly at the policy, but the content itself needs to be regulated.
No, but you see, even as a teacher, as a person, sorry, Andrew,
Sure.
You are part of the problem, okay? We were told by, we have lecturers who would allow us, to split hairs. The entire time at university with Andrew, we're debating from year 1, debating with the guys. I mean, it's about the environment you put in place, So when they say, you see, the curriculum is just the bare minimum. And let me say this before I forget. The government for 26 years has failed to translate this constitution.
Yes.
We went to court over it.
Languages.
So court has agreed with us on the first step that we are right to go to court. So they have put government on their defense. Now, they are supposed to teach it. Article 4, it is clear, you read it for the viewers. They are supposed to teach it in schools. Where is the curriculum that indicates you will teach people the Constitution? It is by design so that people don't know their rights.
Which has worked because people don't know the
But they are
Constitution.
supposed to. So actually we are in court on that. So this time around government has no choice because the court is going to make judgment on that and they will have to. But I'm also telling institutions, the curriculum is a bare minimum. I would love to go to an institution, to take my child to an institution which teaches thinking. And that's the same I do for churches. I now go to a church which allows me to ask a question from the audience. And I know there is one. So, because we are human beings, we think we should be allowed to opine, and it should be okay, because that's the only way you're going to build an intellectual base in this country. And
Yes.
sorry, I had to.
No, that's very helpful. Very quickly, the second, I said that 4 parts. The second part of this bill, the draft bill that we are proposing as an alternative, government can take it up or use it as a baseline to develop a better law, splits the education process into 4. Elementary, intermediate, secondary, and tertiary. And in these components, we are suggesting a unit cost of educating a single child. How much does it cost to educate Matthew here? Whether he's at elementary, intermediate, secondary, or tertiary. What are the basics that you need that should be there? Scholastic materials, a well-remunerated and facilitated teacher or instructor, infrastructure, the classroom, the instructional materials, and so on.
Yes.
And so on and so forth, so that we arrive at a unit cost. Because right now, the costs are so disparate, they are so irregular, that it's not clear. A school is 100 meters from, within a distance of 100 meters, the prices are so disparate, it's not clear. So we want, and it's a shock, it's an indictment on the education ministry, that as we speak, there is no unit cost of education.
And then can you imagine that the fuel stations are even doing better in terms of pricing than the schools?
Yes.
Even when it is liberal, it is not a right for you to have fuel. But they try.
There's a level of
There's
uniformity.
a level of uniformity. How about schools? It is worse.
Schools are chaotic.
Everybody has their own.
You know?
They say if you don't want to take your child elsewhere, but it's a right of education. And those guys have a license from the ministry. It is really painful.
So we're seeking to do that, the second part. The third part, second last part of this bill, suggests some penalties and cautions for those who would violate what the second part of the bill suggests. If you disobey, if you flout this law, if you're found demanding requirements, unnecessary requirements, wantonly from learners, guardians, and parents, this is what happens to you. And the fourth part is about implementation, how that will be implemented. So we're suggesting a framework to say we are not just criticizing, we're also proposing
Something.
This will
alternatives.
work. Yeah.
So that you also do not, the ministry does not say, but what do you want us to do? We say,
Like
no.
they always say.
Yeah, this is a proposal.
Yeah.
So
But
build
also-
on it.
Build from that.
Yeah. But also the ministry has been in existence for how many years? They have policy people there. So what have they been doing? For all these 2 years when the schools were closed down, what was exactly the Ministry of Education doing? Do you know what people were doing? They were lobbying the minister, private sector. Oh, loans, oh, whatever. We don't care about loans. Okay?
Yes, sir.
If that is your business you ventured into,
You have to find a way.
okay? I do practice. Must I every time tell my clients, by the way, landlord are mange? That's your cost. I shouldn't be telling my clients by the way, landlord are mange. Mine is to remind them to pay. Mine is to ensure that clients are paying so that I pay the landlord. Okay? You get what I mean? Now, let me tell you, Umeme gave a grace period to the schools of 1 year. It expires this year, December. So for them to clear the bills.
Yeah, yes.
But let me ask you,
Even national water.
for the 2 years that kids were at home, what cost did the schools incur? There was no food cooked. There was no lights
They
in the
are paying
dormitories.
for security.
No, let me come. So, okay, let's sit down. And you're saying, okay, you paid for security.
Security.
How much is that?
Maintenance.
Yeah, but how, so that's the thing. That,
There's a distinction between fixed
that-
costs and variable costs.
That's the dishonesty. Yeah? Are you saying you spent more when the children were
The
away?
increment is not proportional.
Yeah.
to
Are you
the
saying you
population.
spent more when the children were away than when they are
That
back?
is the thing. It is also.
And what are parents doing? PTAs, school
They are not
management
PTAs.
committees, listen, they are
Mr.
supposed
Aboneka.
to be social accountability centers.
There are no PTAs.
Parents, please help us.
They are not PTAs.
They have left children
Zabwa-
to borders. And that's why the schools are bulldozing you. Stand up. I have talked to parents and someone says, that nonsense we don't accept in our school. They're even suggesting that we should be giving kids porridge 4 times a day, and we feel that is no sense.
Jesus.
Ngoino kongera ko emitwalo mukaga. Ne obuji, owe emitwalo mukaga, uli lunako ufana na buti.
Mr. Aboneka, do you think you have a very, very good draft plan, an idea that Ugandans may want to be implemented? But do you think the comrades that you are taking this draft to will welcome it? Mr. Aboneka, I'm starting with you. Do you think they will welcome it?
They have no choice because, like I said, we've taken too prolonged approach. And we are not just average people. We think through processes. The other is going to be a court order. And we're also saying, by the way, we can help you because we have something. It's up to them, by the way. But we have already talked to some MPs. And personally, I have, and they are willing to do that and take it up. So whether they accept us to give them our bill and they take it or not, court is going to order them. But I don't want them to waste money hiring expatriates to come and help them when we are there. They can as well hire us. There's nothing wrong with that. Or call us and we talk. We have the bill. We have the thinking. We've done research. Let me give these details. UNICEF, only 24% of adolescents can access education, secondary education in Uganda. Only 24%. Okay? And others were saying they can't access because schools lack toilets, washing areas. We are in this area where a school has no toilet, where a building is falling on an individual. And you have a Minister of Education who is even closer to the State House. For the 2 years, before the opening of the school, there was a committee of inspection that went around, and they brought the report that the schools are now fine, we can open them. Let me ask a question.
4 babies were burnt.
Yes.
Kids were burnt
2
nights ago.
That is sad.
Yes.
So let me ask this question, and in all honesty, and I'm asking this question in the virtue of the office. Has the Minister of Education ever gone and visited any 4 or 5 schools in this country? Let someone table the evidence. Has the Minister of Education and Sports ever gone and visited, and means the word inspected, 5 schools in this country? Just 5. Let the minister name them. So why is the Prime Minister not summoning the minister? Now, for me,
you know why?
No, I don't know. Me, I am a citizen of Uganda. There is an office of the Prime Minister and the minister. Why hasn't the Prime Minister summoned the Minister of Education? Katinze njogera ku office. Alimuze simsagala kumanya.
Yogera ku office eyo.
Why hasn't the Prime Minister summoned the minister? If I were the president, I would fire the Minister of Education. I would fire the Minister of Health immediately. Health and education, you don't joke with those two. If I were president, and I'm going to become anyway, maybe God knows. So the thing is that we can't joke around that. If people don't even have a latrine, they sent 1.5 million shillings to those headmasters of those government schools to help them prepare and open. It can't even pay umeme bills. The schools are cracked. They are forcing the headmasters to open. Yeah. We saw kids, they were there smearing kaudanga, preparing for school. In this so-called the 2030 agenda, the SDG 4 has been abused, disabused. It is also tired of being abused in Uganda. It's going to now to go to another country. Okay? I'm waiting at the UN when Uganda is going to present on SDG 4 progress. I was part of the team.
Please mention SDG 4.
Yes, I'm going to mention that. Yes. I was part of the team in this country that did the first report on SDGs on the first implementation. I was part of government team. We developed that. So I know a lot. Yes. Okay, I was coming from of civil society, and I know a lot. I've been part of the 2030 agenda and African Union and all that kind of stuff. So I know. So SDG 4 is accessible, inclusive, quality, education for all. Those 3, there's nothing like affordable. It is inclusive, quality, and accessible. Okay? The persons with disability, are they able to access school today? Even the buildings, we have the Building and Control Act. How many buildings in this city, including offices at Parliament Avenue, where you want to see a minister? are able to cater for a person with disability. We should stop joking. The control building board shouldn't only come when buildings are falling. And actually, I'm even giving someone that you can actually take a classic suit against buildings for not having, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Aboneka, just pause right there. 27 minutes past 8 a.m. Allow me just read a couple of your messages that are coming in. And feel free to call in live. The numbers will be rolling on your screen. My producer will be displaying them. But the MTN is 0789017145. The numbers will be rolling on your screen. So feel free to call in live and talk to the gentlemen in studios. The call lines have been opened. I have Mr. Aaron Kiza, who is listening. Keenly, thank you, Council, for always following the discussion right here. I have Mr. Rogers, who says, looking at the global trend as far as employment world is concerned, how much skills does our education equip students with that they can get out of school straight and compete equitably in the job market after having paid a fortune through school? You'll be maybe answering this gentleman. And then he continues to ask, how much is affordability, Mr. Andrew? What is its baseline measurement? And yes, and he also adds, what is the principal role of government if not to direct the day-to-day business of its people? So maybe you can just note the global trend. He says, looking at the global trend as far as employment world is concerned, how much skills does our education equip with students that they can get out of school straight and compete equitably in the job market, having paid a fortune through school? Then he also asks, Mr. Andrew, this goes directly to you, how much is affordability? Mr. Andrew, what is its baseline measurement? And maybe Mr. Norman Tumuhimbisa says, in Uganda, we get the following for free. Free tear gas, free torture, free arrests, yes, so maybe you'll be answering. Teresa Blessy says, ha ha ha, puts those emojis, and he says, Uganda yabivako ebyokubera pal. Okay, thank you so much. Maybe to just answer Mr. Rogers, Andrew.
Yes, I'll respond to the question of skilling first, and then go to what the affordability baseline is.
Yes.
First, when we think of education in the basic sense, let's decouple it from skilling and the job market. I want to argue that we don't go to school to find jobs. That's another problem.
Yeah, and in this era, it's a very
the purpose of school is not education. The purpose of school is not employment. No. That is to minimize
school,
the objective of school. Because it is also a misnomer. Because anyway, we can't say that those who have not gone to school are not capable of working. At the core of education, before we get to skills and whatnot, there's a certain citizen that you're looking at having. There's an objective person that you want to have as a society. And you deliver that through the education system. Why? I mean, we see people who have acquired some of the highest levels of education, or modest levels of education, or standard levels of education. This person is driving an SUV, and you see a can of juice that has been drunk being thrown out the window.
Yeah, from that SUV.
Yes. We cannot organize ourselves as motorists unless 5 policemen are at that standpoint to say, wait. Let these ones pass. It's basic.
And there is a legend who will always be at the pedestrian street, and he's driving from there.
But if you stop this person and said, can I look at your CV? They have an MBA.
And 5 doctorates.
Yes, but you've gone to school.
Including human science.
Education is seen in what you do.
Yes, so education, before we get to the skilling issue, let's first talk about the product that you want to see out of this system. After how many years? 3 in elementary, 7 in school, that's 10. You add another 6, that's 16. Then you add maybe 3 or 4. 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years of a system. What product
Do you become?
do you become
Not-
after
not
that
what you
whole process?
produce.
Not what you produce. Then, when we are done with this product, we can get lawyers who are not corrupt.
Who
We
can
get
speak?
medical doctors who don't falsify results. We get engineers who don't design buildings without the right mix of aggregate. We get teachers who are actually teaching. We get political scientists who care about the next generation, not the next election.
And leaders
We
who are
get-
serving the
And
country.
we get leaders who think
Who are not dealers.
perceive leadership as
The service.
service, not dealership.
Yes.
So, my understanding, and I take inspiration from an unlikely example,
Yes, sir.
Steve Jobs, the founder and the person behind Apple, who in one of his legendary speeches says, "Follow your passion, the money will come.
Yes.
The skills will come. Offer what you have to the world,
Yeah.
and then whatever else material things that you're looking for will come to
The
you."
world will give back to you.
Yes.
Automatically.
I actually want to say something controversial.
Yes, sir.
As good as education is, we should be careful that we do not have an education system which suppresses or kills innovation and talent and reduces our citizens into robots. Because right now what is being produced by these, I was going to say something about the universities, some people call them glorified secondary schools,
Yes.
is people who can only regurgitate points and answers. So you're producing machines, robots, because of an education system that prioritizes certain things. We want you to be employable. No, that's a total misconception.
It goes wrong there at the inception.
It gets
that you're going to go.
and you can connect that. You can draw a connection between that and the privatization of the system, because in Asia or other countries that we look up to, there is a plan over 60 years or 100 years that we want Singapore to be a manufacturing hub.
Yes.
Or we want South Korea to be a hub for, and so you have companies LG, Hyundai, Daewoo, Samsung coming up because the education system has been aligned to a certain objective. Finland, you have another objective. And so on and so forth. You have several countries with a macro strategy.
A trajectory of...
We are not just educating for...
You also have a trajectory to Vision 2040.
Yeah, but then he just keeps saying it is too long. So as a country, what is our niche? Where do you want to be? Like, don't tell me as a country we want to have tarmac. No. That we must have. But as a country, what do we want to be? What hub do we want to be? If it is food, let us
be the best food producer in Africa
and
in the
also
world.
let us have the best irrigation engineers.
Yeah.
College Wairaka, where I went, was originally set up as an agricultural hub. Like students want to be offered or to offer, agriculture and science and nurtured and what have you. Now today, man, the entire thing is planted with sugar canes. Yeah, not the school but the land. So we need to, the basics, just to answer the question before you answer the second one. You see, it's about content of our curriculum. How many parents participate in this curriculum review? Again, I want to go back to society, but also participating means one, that you ask the questions, but do we have the right curriculum? The curriculum review has been ongoing. At the same time, when our case against the government on the constitution was happening, government gave us 6 months with government to mediate, and they refused to come back to us. And we had proposals because the curriculum was being reviewed. And that's the point. We had a chance to talk about the constitution and other things that can help this country. Until you solve the question of we as a country, where do you want to go? You can't put it in the curriculum. You can't put it in the policies.
We don't know the direction.
Yes, and in this country, what happened in the national dialogue? We don't seem to talk to each other. So that is important. I wanted to bring it out.
Okay. Maybe because we have a few minutes, we have like 15 minutes to go. Mr. Karamagi, may you just
the question of the
finish the second question. So that I want us to pick. I want to pick your minds on
Hello.
the human rights. Oh, someone is calling. Yes, hello.
Yes, Edgar wasuzootya kulamusiza n'abagenyi bwe b'olina bo mu studios.
Bulungi nnyabo wasuza otya ni gwe njogera naye? Hello?
Yes, Edgar, good morning.
Good morning, kuwulira nnyabo oba ani ono?
Ono Salima nkubye okuva ekibuye.
Yes, Salima.
Mbadde njagala okwebaza olwa program gy'okoze naye next time abantu abasinga bw'oba tuleetedde abantu ng'abo abamanyi tubadde tusaba program gikole mu luzungu Luganda kuba kati abantu abamu tetutegeera luzungu. Buliddeko Kaso Aboneka ng'agamba nti abazadde balina okugetinga involved mu curriculum. Do they even know nti balina okubeera nga bali involved? Nti twagala nti kati Kaso Aboneka yakimanyi ajja akinnyonnyole mu lulimi abantu lwe bategeera. That next time wabeerawo ekintu kyonna bamanyi roles zaabwe ng'abazadde. N'ekintu ekirala omuntu ayinza okukola atya ku human rights violations zeeyongedde empitirivu naye bo abantu bakozeewo ki kuba tuwulira miranga lamentations ku social media bamuwambye drone kino kiri bwe kiti bannamateeka tukkiriza abantu bwe bajja gye muli mukoze ogwammwe naye bo abantu bo balina kye basobola okukola nga bo. And my last question is high rates za fuel zeeyongedde naye bwe tulaba nti ekintu bakyongezezza mu sikasiti ne sikasiti ne bweggwawo zisigalayo ani ali responsible gwe tuba tulina okunenya. Example is transport gwe bayongeza prices asigalayo. Who is responsible? Thank you for the show.
Kale webale nnyo Salima okuva ekibuye. Point note tujja kubanga twogera ku lulimi lwaffe luno olulyanaka. Wetunaba next time doza mujja ku gentlemen mujja ku uteke mukasavu kanyama tubagamba oluzungu lususe
oluzungu n'olusonga
bina ya mukulu Karamagi ngayogera ku Luganda simuulirangako
ndwogera tulogera natulumanyi.
Yes, so mwami Karamagi njala twogere ku human rights ng'omukyalo ono kyayogeddeko naye sokomalize ensonga y'omukulu Rogers ekibuuzo kye baseline fees then tugende mu topic endala.
Yes, Rogers, etteeka lino lyetugezezaako okuwandiika or the law that we are proposing is we are actually soliciting the help of mathematicians like economists, statisticians, because it's a complex question that we are trying to resolve.
Yes, sir.
But what is informing our baseline is the cost of scholastic materials, basics, book, pen, pencils, chalk, one as a whole, the instructor, the cost of this instructor, are they well remunerated for the hours that they spend in class? Then the cost of a facility, a learning, a classroom, a structure.
Those overhead costs.
And those overheads that are incurred in that process. We are nearly there. We have a rough figure, which I don't want to...
But also to add that under the public-private partnership, government extends 255,000 shillings.
Yes.
So how come that the private schools allowed emitwalo 25 buli term ey'omwana omwasomereyo? Kiba kitegeeza nti ezo nazo ssente tusobola okutandikira ku ezo kubanga baazikkiriza. Naye okatokkiriza omwana wa gavumenti n'asomera ku mitwalo 25 owa Edgar n'omusaba obukadde 100 mu ssomero lyerimu. Okiraba? So kati lwaki bakkiriza, and I think that's where we should go to. If you want to extend service, tugambe okay. Essomero lya $1,500,000.
Yes.
Kala abaana kabasasula emitwalo 25. Asobola under PPP. That's where we should be going. If a PP under private partnership agreement, mwakkiriza emitwalo 25. Kati lwaki abaana abalala basasula obuwanana? Ngate oli asasula 25 gye wakkiriza okuva government mu term y'emu.
Kusoma kyekimu.
Okay.
So byebyo tusinzirako. That's the basis that we are trying to arrive at the figure. Remember, Rogers, and thank you for that fantastic question. We are looking for the unit cost of educating a child at each level. And we have a formula. Yes.
Okay. I have Rita who says, in Uganda, the Rakitura dynasty came to destroy and restore and devolve. analyze how Karamoja was left after Kataha exit and how the same person is mismanaging the education sector. Then Rita continues to say, Council Aboneka raises pertinent issues on the Ministry of Education and Sports. But how can a toothless Prime Minister summon a powerful Minister of Education and Health who are the appointing
Then
authorities?
she should also resign. Yeah, what we need to create is that offices should work. I was in university. I was the chairperson Guild Tribunal. My friends were appearing before me as the AG. But there was no nonsense.
There's no friendship.
You get what I mean?
Yes.
So everyone should do work bestowed upon them. Okay? If the Prime Minister can't summon her minister, katabite. She can't be leader of government business. Alekera otulimba.
First lady Ajaku.
No. You see, there is nothing in the constitution called the first lady. It is cabinet ministers. And the head of the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Education and Sports is Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni.
Who is the same person?
And I am talking, that one I don't care. I'm talking about, for me, Omulama Gwange Guli, about Minister of Education. Because tomorrow, I will be appointed. Okay. The president can decide that, okay, Michael, you're getting your education. Jango Korowa Minister. Njagala, Prime Minister, and someone. That's what we want to create. That officers should be left to work as officers regardless who is in them.
Yeah, that is too late for that particular thing. I don't know, it's too late, but it feels like
no, we have asked the president, like, he should fire
because we have
let me say it.
Yeah.
I think the president, you should fire the Minister of Education and the Minister of Health. Please,
for non-performance.
Okay.
You should fire the Minister of Health and the Minister of Education for non-performance, unless they make a case.
Okay. Yeah. Gentlemen, let's put the education topic aside. Let's talk about, in the last 6 minutes we have, let's talk about the state of human rights in this country. We have, speaking about families, the first son, someone disturbed the peace. Disturbed the peace of that gentleman and the president. And it is in that regard that a gentleman was charged, and some say he was tortured. And these things are going on. We had people rig an election in Kayunga in broad daylight and declare very different results.
Rigging is just very good English. Say steal. They stole.
Okay. Yeah, those are your words. We are having all these things going on, and it feels like it's still business as usual, Mr. Karamagi.
These issues pertaining to rights violations, and particularly Kakwenza Richirabashiria's situation, is especially disturbing because, and let me get to the heart of the matter because we do not have a lot of time. Obesity is a medical condition. Every human being has hips. There's a misconception that it's only women with hips. Hips are not a feminine feature. Every person.
And they're not a monopoly of someone.
And they are not a monopoly of a given gender. So if you have bigger hips than others, it's a fact, statement of fact. If you are obese is a medical calculation. I can tell you here, because I like researching. There's something called...
Who is a medical expert?
No, you can compute your own body mass index. Do you know what obesity is? Obesity is a function of something called BMI, body mass index. It's a computation of your height relative to your weight. If the figure you get is over 1, you are obese. If the figure is a negative, you are underweight. If it is 0, you are okay. I don't understand, first of all, why we have people called so-called generals who can be tickled by a tweet.
Yeah. So how about when the bread comes?
Leaders should have a thick skin. I'm not even just saying my own statements. I'm saying something that has been judicially noticed.
Yeah.
Justice Mulenga said leaders should have a certain degree of metal, of a thick skin.
To absorb. You know?
What will happen when this individual, if you're calling him first son, I don't care what son you are, because I am also a son to my parents.
And they love us also.
And they love us just as much. I mean, the profile has been built around you, commanding operations and so on, and a mere tweet gets you to kill with a sledgehammer. I find this completely unacceptable. It is a misuse of office. It is shameful. And this is not consistent with the kind of democratic culture that we are trying to build in this country. Leaders, we have a right to offend, and there is nothing wrong with, we cannot determine who says what and who cannot say what when. I stand with Kakwenza because tomorrow I am a potential Kakwenza. You are a potential Kakwenza, including you, the viewers. Because insulting someone, it's not clear what an insult is. I could say something and you find it offensive, and others don't find it offensive. Besides, who are we learning from? We have a so-called head of state in this country who has called Ugandans repetitively idiots,
another pigs,
swine, pigs, amongst other words.
But what beats my understanding?
Anyway.
What beats my understanding, Mr. Aboneka, is that there is an individual who's using the coercive arm of government. He's using the state apparatus for personal vendetta.
Yeah.
Like nkunyigide. Kati chengenda okola because nzali mbuyinza ngenda kwate police mundu kunyigemu.
Yeah, so let me now
where does this take us?
Let me talk about basics.
Yes, in 2 minutes.
In criminal justice, unless it's a private prosecution where it's by complaint on oath, ordinarily you go to police and report.
Yes.
Can anyone send us the photo of the police statement and the police reference number that the first son and the president reported to the police station over the street? I want it. I'm looking for it. The police reference number. Can they also give us the statements made? Because you have to make a statement. And let me tell you this. I was a victim of the Computer Misuse Act. And I successfully prosecuted people, and they were convicted and sentenced under the Computer Misuse Act. So I know the whole process. Okay? I know the whole process. So we want the statements that the two made. That's what I want to know. Number 3 is that if those are not produced, then someone is using the president and the first son's name to torture someone. Because who is the complainant here? The same for Stellanyans. The president said, I had people who were annoyed on my behalf. Because he understands that as a leader, sometimes you have to wear a certain boldness. Let someone challenge me today, share the pictures of the president's statement at police and his son, and also the police reference number, the one you reported at. Lastly,
yes, sir.
The Constitution says the president shall be immune to criminal and civil proceedings. Does that imply also that he cannot be party to criminal proceedings in whatever way? So if that's the case and is the complainant, is he willing to come to the stand and we cross-examine him?
How we got offended.
So how are we going to measure Article 98 vis-a-vis what we are talking about, vis-a-vis the offense? And Aaron, you're watching, and everyone else, can we test this case and have it prosecuted in the right way? People come and give evidence, whether on oath or whatever, that I was abused and I felt disturbed this way. Section 25 is still vague. Because what amounts to vagueness? In my case, I had to prove my case. Okay? Yes, I was the prosecution witness. I had to prove my case. Well, now they offended me several times by texts. I had them. I brought an expert. They explained how those messages. I prosecuted my case, and I did it because I wanted jurisprudence. It is there at City Hall.
Okay, Mr. Aboneka, sibuli addala abakulabira olunaku olwaleero.
Abatulabye mwebale kujoininga discussion eno, era discussion eno ekyagenda maaso. Nekinyagezaako kubagamba. Why do we do all these things? Abasomi ba Bible, Micah 6:8 says, oh man, he talks about people bringing fat oil and whatever God, and then they said the only thing is to do love, mercy, and justice. Okay. So that's why we do all this. So keep peaceful and challenge any injustice at whatever, even if it's at your clan meeting or church or mosque. Put up your hand and challenge an injustice.
Okay. Before you come in, Mr. Karamagi, I have Farida Bikovere saying, I hear hips are not a feminine feature and she loves it. of, and maybe lastly to Muhim Senoman says, it's a pity that Muhoozi's mind confuses him to believe that being the first son is a permanent title for life. Where is Saddam's sons and others? Sibula bakolawe Mr. Karamagi.
Yes, njagala okwebaza abatutoye obudde bwabwe okuwuliriza n'okulaba n'abakuya amasimu n'abaweereza obubaka naddala Salma tujja kubeera nga tutabula olulala bwe tukomyewo to use both to be bilingual English Luganda and let me conclude on this note. I have watched videos of drones abducting people. One of the videos which circulated a lot shows men jump, no uniform, no ranks, no nothing.
No nothing, just gun.
Jumping out of a vehicle. Ne bakwata omwana, ne bamuteekamu nga bali mukuba. Abantu abali awo oli asika chapati, oli atambula, oli boda, batunula bajjayo masimu.
Ni bakubujuliza ate bakole.
Mulanirire banna.
Abalala batajjayo masimu. Batunula.
Mulanirire banna.
Oyingire mu lutalo lw'otamana.
Oli muna Uganda munno.
Uyo bamutwala uyo bamutadde mu motoka uyo agenze. Banange batuta omwana.
Byobusaaga awo. Bu smartphone ne buvaayo. Buli mwe yagala kulopa mawulire.
Netugenda ku Twitter. Batuta.
Wewone ne tutrendinga.
Self defense mu mateeka yawe tuyambe etya. We have to be a bit more active. Nzo omusajja kino kye kisembayo nabadde nvuga ndiku Traffic and Road Safety Act etugamba nti mu Uganda ovuga ku left oli kubanga ina government number plate yavudde mu line ye n'ateekako akagombe n'anyimirira mu maaso nti vaayo nze ngweri mu mwala nayimiriddewo
ntomera
neŋŋamba olagawa n'abantu ne bamubuuza naye sebo olagawa abantu abasinga olulira akagombe banange tuviire omusajja
batwe basotulo
tulina okukomya okubeeraawo
batuvuga
oli kyayogera ne tugonda ono bwakola bwati ekintu ekyo kikome.
Okay, naye ng'ekintu ekyetaaga n'okukoma ekirala kyekyabavubuka ne Mukama n'ayamba n'ebintu ebyo kuba kati mwogera ku bino ebintu naye
n'ekirala abaana ba booda omanyi abaana abo mbaagala nnyo naye tubeere n'omutima ffenna ogwagaliza okay wakukoona ate buzibu nnyo ng'akukoonye okay bavuma bakola biki empisa kati ate abaana batandise okusoma bayigira ku mmwe ffenna nga bannayuganda tulina ebyo bitukosa naye empisa
Mr. Aboneka bangamba obudde bweddeyo Semwanga Jackson agambe we bali kuweereza n'agambe hips don't lie
bakuba ku bunyimba obwo ate tunaakola tutya.
Thank you so much Uganda. It has been a very, very beautiful discussion right here at the Mighty Drive. The page is at the Alternative Uganda. The media platform is the Alternative TikTok. Thank you so much for those who have called in. To my panelists, Mr. Karamagi, thank you. Mr. Aboneka, thank you. To the lady on camera, Anita Msimenta, thank you. And JJ, thank you so much, guys. I have Nabukera, thank you so much. I have Rogers, thank you. I have Arnold Mukose Anthony, thank you, the programs director. And Jeremiah Muchibi, who is the director for the show. Thank you so much. And everybody who has kept it or has kept it the Mighty Drive from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. guys. It's always a privilege serving you. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. I will be bringing you what is happening in Kenya. As I told you earlier on that we have a tough race. 2022 is going to be a remarkable year for Kenya. We're having the elections that will be going down on the 9th of August. That will be 2022. ODM is presenting Mr. Raila Odinga, and of course the hustler himself, William Ruto, he says he wants to take that office. What is happening right there? I'll be giving you that and much more tomorrow on the Mighty Drive, 7 a.m. My name is Karuhanga Edgar Mathew. Good morning.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.